Absolute pleasure to be joined by Scottish rugby legend Gavin Hastings. The obvious question to get going, how do you see the campaign under Vern Cotter so far?
Well, it's been an interesting one. Obviously, there's a massive game on Saturday against Samoa from a Scottish perspective, and one that clearly I, along with the whole of Scotland, expect, I guess, to see Scotland win and put us into the quarter-finals. But it's not going to be easy. I think Samoa have been disappointing, and I think they probably feel that they've let themselves down as well as all their families and their country folk back home. So I would expect a very spirited performance from Samoa at the weekend, and I think they'll try and make it as uncomfortable as possible for Scotland.
There was a point in Vern Cotter's coaching career with Scotland where he really looked a little bit under the pump, certainly from media pressure, in terms of keeping his position. It appears he's really turned it around.
Yeah, I never really felt that was going to be the case with Vern, to be honest, and I think it was just more a question of once he had enough time with the guys and they got to be comfortable with him and vice versa, then things would be very much on the up as far as Scotland were concerned. So that's the way I see it. I think, he's had the whole summer to work with the boys, and I think he's got them in a good frame of mind. They're playing positive rugby. I think they're very fit, and, it augurs well. But a big game awaits us on Saturday.
Would you say that they have surpassed your expectations of them so far in this tournament? And how much do you think it helped them that their fixture against Japan was 5 days after their shock victory over the Box? Because Japan looked very good against Samoa, which suggested that had the fixtures been done a little bit differently, no disrespect to Scotland, that game could have gone a little bit differently.
Well, notwithstanding the fact that Japan's victory over South Africa was an extraordinary one and probably the greatest victory in the history of the World Cup. I think before the tournament, most people would have given Scotland as comfortable victors over Japan, and that's the way it turned out. And notwithstanding the fact that they did manage to overturn South Africa, I think there was always, looking back, I think perhaps South Africa just maybe didn't pay them enough respect, and it's wonderful to see that a team can overcome the odds, if you like, and still produce a victory that everybody sits up and takes notice of. And from my perspective, it was great that the world's media was on the Scotland-Japan game a few days later, because it's good that Scotland are in the media for all the right reasons, and they played very positively. So there's lots of talk as to whether the 4-day turnaround is fair. Scotland had to do it in front up against the USA. And it's not easy to do that. So, I think just about every team in this competition has had to have a short turnaround. And, I'm sure everybody feels that it's difficult to do so.
I realise this question is built on some assumptions, but looking ahead to a potential quarter-final, speaking as a neutral, one would expect to see Scotland win this game. Australia have an unbelievably strong head-to-head record against Wales, which would lead us to potentially Australia versus Scotland at Twickenham. Do you feel that there is a chance Scotland could spring a surprise in that one, given how good Australia have looked in this tournament so far, how professional they've looked?
Yeah, well, I think, again, Australia play Wales at the weekend, and we'll see just how good they are after the weekend. But I think Wales will give them a heck of a game on Saturday at Twickenham. I think the fact that they haven't played for 10 days and sort of build up to that. So I'm excited for all the games this weekend. Ireland play France, obviously, in Cardiff on Sunday, and I think there's some brilliant games coming up. And
if you had to predict between Ireland and France, who would you go with?
Well, at the end of the day, both teams are going to be through, and I think there's a danger always that you make these assumptions, and whoever Scotland have to play, assuming they get through against Samoa, they'll treat them with massive respect, and they'll try and come up with a game plan that they feel gives them the best chance of winning. And I think Wales are going to get absolutely stuck into Australia this weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do another England on them, and it's building up nicely to the quarter-finals.
A very quick final question in regard to the long-term future of Scottish rugby. Do you think Vern Cotter has started to build a side that, heading into the next Six Nations, the next set of autumn internationals, can claim scalps from the other hemisphere and can turn Scotland into a team in the Six Nations that are not seen as the also-rans, with Italy battling for that fifth spot, maybe finishing fourth, that can do a bit more? Or do you think that the size of Scotland in terms of clubs competing, players playing, etc., means that they're perennially going to be restricted in their development?
Look, it's not easy with only two professional sides in Scotland, but the fact is that there appears now to be a greater strength and depth with Scotland than they've ever had in the last number of years, probably in the last 20 years since professionalism took over. So that having been said, confidence is a big thing in rugby, and if Scotland can play well on Saturday against Samoa, be very, very competitive in the quarterfinals, who knows what might happen after that, and then take stock of the situation. But again, you ask that question. If Scotland were not to win against Samoa on Saturday, I mean that would be a massively painful blow. So, I think it's too easy to speculate as to what goes on. But I think that Scotland have shown enough signs that they're turning it, and they have the potential to be a competitive side over the next number of years. And as a former player, I'm very excited about that.